Welcome to Fated, a podcast brought to you by Majella and Carlie, two romantasy-obsessed readers who believe that great books must include declarations of undying love and deep thrusts of desire. Diving into the spicy, smutty fantasy genre, we are here for both the rattling of stars and headboards, and our podcast starts with the worlds of SJM, but delves into other realms. Did we mention that washboard abs and wands of all kinds are welcome in this inclusive and magically charged space? No topic is off limits, and no one is forced to have only one favourite heroine. Welcome to Fated, where we are unabashedly and wholeheartedly hot and heavy for spicy fantasy fiction. It's time to sit down and smut up. Warning, spoilers ahead. Hey, I'm Majella.
And I'm Carlie, and we are going to spend a little bit of time this episode just kind of introducing ourselves a little bit more. I feel like we kind of launched the podcast 3 months ago and was like, bang, here it is. And this could be a really good opportunity to kind of be like, okay, this is who we are, and this is why we're doing this, and just to share a little bit more so we can connect with you and you can get to know us and get a sense of if we're, two chicks that you want to have in your ears regularly and want to connect with us maybe in our book club and in our readers retreats and all the fun things we're dreaming up for our community. So I'm going to kick off with a question. I'm going to interview Majella. Majella, where are you right now recording your podcast? Where in the world are you?
So I live up on the sunny coast in Queensland, and where it is perpetually sunny most of the year. You would think, there is a lot of sun, but it actually is far more rainy than I expected. I don't know if that's just this, the last few years or whatever, but that works well for me because my favorite sort of environment to read in is either while it's raining, so it's dramatic and stormy and rainy, or any kind of rain. I'll take any kind of rain, drizzle, anything that feels a bit melancholy, or snow, but that, if we're getting snow up here, we're in real trouble. Just collectively, I think, as a civilization. So no snow, but yes. So I'm currently sitting in my home office, DIY'd myself with wallpaper and pretty things. And yeah, so I don't live anywhere near Carlie because Carlie lives much further south.
I am south of the border. Is Junie there with you today? You usually have Junie, your beautiful puppa dog.
Oh, can you?
I can't see
her. Where
her.
is she? Can you see?
But she's always a presence in our...
There she is. Can you
She's always there.
Can you see her?
I can see her. I can see a part of her.
She's freaking.
I love that.
Yes.
Junie's there.
There's the other.
If you ever watch our videos as well as listen, you'll usually see her. There she is. Hey, beautiful girl.
I don't even know how that's comfortable. I feel like she's weirdly lying on the side of her head. It's sort of in a weird U shape. I'm just okay.
The things
her arm is literally under her head like this. Anyway.
She's a strange one, like her mama. That dog has heard some interesting conversations already on this podcast. So Junie's always there with us as well. Yeah, but I'm down south. So I live down in a small town. I think there's about 2,500 people in my little town in Inverleigh in Victoria. And I've lived in Victoria my whole life. So I think pictures that we get snow, but snow is about 3 or 4 hour drive for us. But we do get cold being so far south. So I feel like down here we have all the seasons. We have the 4 seasons, and I really like that. And I just podcast from my little sunny office / toy room / it's turning into a gaming room because I have teenagers in my house. Little space here. This is Mama's little corner. This is where I hang out and do all my podcasting.
Do you have a fireplace?
I do have a fireplace, yes. And in winter, I might try to set up with that in the background because that would be romantic and right up fantasy.
Wouldn't it? Yes. That would be great.
We do have an indoor fireplace, which was a must when we built this house. I'm I want a cozy fireplace to read beside and to just, watch movies and snuggle with the kids. And then we've got an outdoor kind of fire pit area as well. We do a couple of times a year have massive bonfires. So we've got 3 acres of land, so quite a bit of space. So we often have people over for bonfire night. That's a bit of fun. It does get cold enough to do that a few times a year. So what else do you do? What else do you do in your day apart from swimming in the ocean like a mermaid? which I do not do.
I mean, I do swim a lot, yes. But I mean, I think swim is a very generous term. I feel like more like I float in, I wander, I splash. There is some swimming. On some days we do ocean swims, but mostly it's just I go in and I float and kind of, look about and go, wow, I can't believe I'm doing this. Because I've wanted to live at the beach, near the beach for my whole life. But other than when I'm not floating about, I am a writer and a content creator and a poet and a podcaster. So I create content for brands, usually like small brands, female-driven brands who need really beautiful content, beautiful, dreamy, kind of floaty content, I guess, in a way. And then I write poetry, and I'm just about to publish. Carlie has been with me every step of the way. It's been a process getting this first book published, but the cover has been done and the formatting is almost finished, and then I've just got to put it into the juggernaut that is KDP Publishing and spit it out on the other side. But I have a whole kind of lineup of poetry books ready to go. So there's a lot of I used to be a fashion stylist before that in my previous life when I lived in Brisbane in the city. So it's always been creative. And before that, I was a music journalist, and then a food blogger. I mean, I've had lots of interesting kind of like my creative pool that I have dipped into has been very interesting. I used to interview celebrities, and then I used to work in like a really cool bar, and I used to work from like 10 p.m. till 6 a.m. and really actually loved it, which I would never want to do that now because I really enjoy going to bed at like 8 p.m. But I would actually go to work and be like, this is great. So yeah, that's what I have done, but it's always been in the creative kind of realms, and I really love that.
Yeah.
And Carlie, what do you do when you're not out having fire pits and tending to your huge veggie garden and collecting the eggs from the chickens and going on runs through the bush because you're now a runner?
I'm just a nana, really. Like my veggie patch, my chickens. I was just going to say also, like, Majella just creates beauty. I always think of Majella and beauty. She's just creating beauty in the world in lots of different ways. And this podcast is just another way she's doing that. Okay, so I guess job number one, hat number one that I wear is mum. So I have two boys who are just about to turn 12 and 10, which is just not okay. It's not okay. I just had them. So they're just growing like weeds. And so they're really active, lots of sport. I'm really active at their school, which is a really beautiful community kind of farm school. So, they're obviously number one. And then my background is a social worker. So I have got my social work degree, and I worked in child protection as an art therapist. I worked in kinship care. I've worked in high-risk adolescent residential units. I've been in some really crazy situations with some really wild and dangerous people in my social work career. I've worked with a lot of really disadvantaged communities and a lot of high-risk individuals before I had my kids, and I thrived in that. I'm really good in a crisis. I'm a really quick thinker. I connect with people really well. I really loved that part of my career. And then obviously becoming a mama, things shifted. So then I wanted to be home with them, and I started my own business, and I've had about 25 different things that I've done in that time as well, just to bring in income and share my passions. I've done business coaching. I've sold essential oils. I've sold cleaning products. I studied human design, and I still teach people about that and do readings and like Majella as well, like just so anything creative, anything with people. I love helping people. So my passion, aside from reading, is human behavior and understanding what makes people tick and how people can, achieve their dreams and goals and be very self-aware humans. So I do that a bit now, a bit of therapy, human design, teaching, but the podcast and reading is it's definitely taking up a lot of my time, which is very cool. It's all I want to do all day, every day. I work a couple of days a week in a cafe just down the road, because it's literally 4 minutes down the road, and I can work in school hours, and it gets me out and about talking to people. And what's been really cool is that I have had so many people recently come in, they're like, I listened to the podcast. Can you recommend some books? That's what I kind of do at the moment. But who knows? who knows what will happen tomorrow because I change all the time. Change all the time.
That's right. I mean, I think there's such incredible freedom in having possibility. I think that's what really sort of fires up the human spirit, is that possibility. Even though right now you might be doing this, that in the bag of skills that you have the ability to pivot and go off in a different direction if someone presented a great opportunity or you really felt a strong calling to something. And I think that not everyone has that opportunity, and nor do they have the skills to be able to do that. They don't have that ability to be quite as adaptable, nor maybe do they find that appealing. But I think I have a similar approach to opportunities and creativity and following our passions, and also then learning new skills. Like, we've both learnt new things to be able to do a podcast. And so, it has opened up the possibility of where we want to take this as well. And I think we have both really exciting. You're more a little bit, leaning towards one aspect of it, and I'm leaning a little bit more towards the other, but not at the exclusion of either, but just that, like, when I think, oh my God, I would love the podcast to do this year, mine sits in the reading retreats where we all just come together in like some kind of beautiful cabin where there is snow, or at least it is very, very cold, so that we can be attired like we're in snow. And then we just have nooks. Everyone has a nook. So we need to have so many nooks that people can be in a window nook, or like a couch nook, or an outdoor fire pit nook. So, when I think about what are we going to do with this podcast, other than find all these incredible book-related products that we can share, because I love connecting people with beauty, but also comfort and things that make your life feel like you're in a little pocket of a dreamland. So, I was like, Carlie, when we set up this website, I need to be able to have like a link to those Kindle holders where you can just lie in bed and click the remote. And then, but also we need to have like an incredible blanket selection. And then what about snacks? And now we're going to have mugs to put the hot cocoa in, that have book slogans, something about Lorcan. I think he should get his own mug, because he was a closed door sex scene, which was very disappointing. So, now I like him more because I don't know enough about him. So I have gone deep into the reading retreat, not a writing retreat, not a doing retreat. We're just reading. So we're going to have these later in the year, and you're going to, if you're a reader like us and you need access to a reading weekend, we will be having something somewhere cold with nooks and everything set up to have the ultimate reading experience. So with the door opening into these new opportunities, I've stepped through into the reading retreat world, and Carlie stepped into the book club world. I think it was her first, where she was like, we've got to start a book club. It's necessary. When are we starting this book club? Here are my ideas for the book club. I think we should do it. And I was just like, yes, book club, cool. But what about the reading retreats and the snacks, and the products that people need to know about, like the Kindle remote clicker? Like, people should know about this, So you tell them about the book club, Carlie, because I know that is your passion right now.
I just think you've given people a glimpse as well into the behind the scenes of how we work together, because Majella is the dreamer, the visioner, the creative. She is 10 steps down the road looking at, like our line of candles. And I'm a little bit more of the strategic planner that's like, cool, we're going to do that. But we probably need a community first. We probably need some people that are listening that will come to your reading retreat in a number of months. And it works. I feel like it works really, really well. She might now surprise me and say it doesn't. But I think that's how we work. We're working quite well together, because I'm like, yes, all of that. But right now, like, we're going to do this and this just to get it out there, build our community, connect with the people that we need to connect with because they're our people. And then we're going to invite them to reading retreat. And so the book club for me was like, that's going to be a space where we can just start those conversations. So we have our podcast where you and I riff on all the things that we were riffing about privately. Now we just do it publicly, about books and reading and our thoughts about characters and our favorite authors and all of that. And the book club is just, okay, let's extend the arms out and start communicating with the people out there that are as equally as obsessed or wanting to be as equally as obsessed as us. So I am so here for the reading retreat, but I will not be the details person. So Majella is very into, you know, like curation. And so she makes our spaces look beautiful. That's why she's doing the website. And I'm not. I'm like, just get a website up. Just bang it up. It's all good. And she's like, no, it needs to look like this. And that's cool. That's how we work together. But you just have
We vibe.
it's about the vibe.
That's right. And I am holding back on the candles, but there will be candles. Like I've got the whole range pictured. I already know how we're gonna like, you know, I mean, you can't read romantic books and not know the ultimate combinations of, you know, like crackling embers and lemon verbena, you know, or like leather and cedarwood with like the smell of snow on, you know, the top of, you know, mountains. Like there's just pine and snow. I mean, that will be our bestseller because we all love Rowan.
Yeah.
But they're also just candle smells that I feel like I would, even without reading these books, I would just genuinely be into. I'd be like, yes, that candle is crackling embers and lemon verbena. I'm into that. I don't know why I am, but something about that appeals to my very primal nature of like, I am connected with the elements. You know, there needs to be one about moonlight and, you know, kind of like lavender and I don't know, vetiver.
See how she
cinnamon.
goes.
I mean, cinnamon will definitely.
She's gone. See, and I'm just like, I lovingly have to sometimes. Yes, absolutely. We're just going to do this first. We're just going to do this bit first. And then you'll have people to sell the candles to or to give them away to or whatever. Please know that anything you come to, any events of ours will be extremely beautiful and so thought out. And not much of that will be from me. But I will like have the list and I will have the list of people that's coming and she will have the smells and the food and the nooks organised. And that's how
and the nooks, that's right. I won't be assigning the nooks. You'll have to take over that because that would be too much to have to choose. But I will give you the list of nooks.
Yeah.
You know, and also maybe like who this nook would be great for. You know, this is for a person who wants to feel like they have the possibility of the world at their fingertips because they're next to a window, but they also feel very nurtured and safe. So they're almost like in that childlike kind of safe space, you know?
Not where my brain goes. I love it. I love that that's where your brain goes because you will do the things that need to happen to make people feel incredibly nourished and nurtured and thought about. And I'll do all the strategic and planning stuff and it will work beautifully, absolutely beautifully. Other dreams for the potty for me are to get more guests on this year. So actually want to talk to some authors that we love, pick their brain a little bit about the process of writing and all the stuff that comes up as they're creating their books, as they're publishing their books, as they're getting their books reviewed and building more connections. I personally want to really support the Australian publishing industry, independent and mainstream regular publishing, and really highlights more Australian businesses and authors. And another thing that's really important to me is sustainability. So Majella and I have had conversations about, you know, just that we're not going to get stuck into like the fast fashion of reading and waste and, you know, huge book hauls and all of that stuff and how we can maybe bring a bit more conscious consumerism into it as well, which I know sounds a bit serious, but that's kind of important to me as well. Can I ask as well, like, who do you live with apart from Junie? Do you have a partner? Is there someone that has to like put up with your session?
Yes, I have a partner. His name's Andrew, but everyone calls him Welly because his last name's Wellstead. And, you know, we're Australian, so we like to take surnames and turn them into nicknames. So, you know, you can call us Welly and Jelly is what I think we used to have as like our fun kind of like, you know, if we were playing a team sport, you know, like if we were at, I don't know, what is that thing called when you go and a trivia? I was like, you know, like bingo, but with like facts trivia. Yes. So I live with him and he is very understanding. I mean, he loves to read, but he definitely goes through much more distinctive phases of it. And it's usually like he'll read a series or something and then he's kind of done for a little while. Like then he'll go back and do something else. Whereas like obviously I am not in a phase of reading. I'm in like, an obsession of reading. And there have been times where, he's definitely like, I mean, he noticed when I was reading a different type of book because he noticed that my breathing changed. So, because I have been reading nonfiction biographies, self-help, health-related books, business books, and I would read them in bed. I love to read, and I am a fast reader, so I would be reading those kind of books for years and years because we've been together for a decade. And then started to read romantic books. And one night he was like, "What are you reading?" And I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "Your breathing has changed. It's so loud." And I was just like, "What do you mean?" He's like, it's just like he's like, "You're breathing really fast." And I think for sure I was reading a saucy scene of some kind in one of the books, and I was just, oh my god, I will have to monitor my breathing because he will know, like, I'll be reading and then he'll be like, "Oh, now she's reading a sex scene. That's her sex scene breathing." So he's very understanding about the reading, though we have had times when he has been mildly perturbed by how much it can affect my emotional state. So like when there are parts in a book where like it is a cliffhanger or there is trauma or there is a character death and I'm on edge, like unfortunately that kind of energy and mood can bleed out into the collective spaces. So there has been times where he's been like, you need to go to sleep, and there will be a vitriolic response. There will be like threats and don't you tell me what to do, or just straight up ignoring, where I'm just like, I can't even talk to you right now because this has happened and I am distraught and I can't believe you don't understand how distraught I am, and where is your understanding and compassion? So I think that for the most part he really supports this, and he was definitely, go and do the podcast. What a great idea. You're clearly very passionate about it and you love to talk, and you're already talking a lot with Carlie, so you might as well turn it into something. And but then other times he's like, could you put the book down? Have you read enough today? Why are you so grumpy? And I'll be just like, because this happened. And he's like, but that's not real. And I'll be like, it feels real to me. So I guess not everyone will want to be the partner of a book lover. I can understand that. So what about your partner? I feel like we have had some similar conversations.
Yeah, so I have been married for 10 years, together 17. Oh my God, it's actually our anniversary next week. I nearly forgot. Married nearly.
Time to get him a new book.
I'll get him a book, yes. Holy dooly. I'm glad we recorded this today. Yeah, we've been together like forever. So, he is the world's most patient man and is supportive about how much I read, how much I want to read, how often I don't want to be interrupted and I want to be literally separate from my family because I'm going through some stuff or I really want to get something read. So yeah, he's a construction supervisor. He works his tushy off for our family. He's a very, very good man. And he is not a reader. So I reckon in the 17 years we've been together, he's maybe read 3 or 4 books. And so he doesn't understand the feeling and the obsession, but he's just like, yeah, if that's your thing, go for it. He's got his other things like watching sport on TV and watching zombie shows and stuff that I'm not interested in. And I've got my books. He's incredibly supportive. He bought me my Kindle for my birthday. He bought me, the Throne of Glass series. So he's really perceptive and listens to what I'd like, what books I like. He's great. He's great. But I actually would really love if he would read, because I kind of think that seems really romantic to be able to lay in bed and read beside each other and share what you're reading and how you're feeling. But yeah, he's just not there. So my youngest is our reader in our household, and him and I lay down and read together. He's actually reading a book at the moment called Wings of Fire. Keep going to say Air of Fire from Throne of Glass. Wings of Fire. It's about dragons. And I'm like, yes, Nate, my 9-year-old, will soon be reading Throne of Glass. But yeah, that's Paul. And he works hard. He's an incredible dad, very supportive partner. And the other night when I stayed up till 2 a.m. to finish Kingdom of Ash, he didn't even wake me up in the morning. He got up and took the kids to school and let me sleep in. I woke up and everyone was gone. It's like, you are the best book husband. Thank you so much. So he's great. We love him. He can stay. I'd better remember our anniversary though, so he wants to stay. Cool. So that's a bit about us, I think. If you have any questions and you'd like to know what else we do in our days and how else we read and all of that sort of stuff, please communicate with us on our Instagram, our TikTok. You can soon go to our website, join our book club.
That's right.
We love these conversations.
That's right. Come to a reading retreat, buy a candle. You know, there'll be so much happening. I do feel like I've already got ideas for merch for our book club where I'm just like these are what our readers will need. Like they will need these things to make the reading experience amazing. And we will also make them branded so that they are fated things, which I can't say because obviously, you know, like I need to keep these ideas close until we've turned them into reality. But the only other thing I wanted to add is like I also feel like I'm really excited to bring on people who are in the reading world that maybe are not so traditionally in the reading world. And what I mean by that is there are some TikTok voice actors that I follow who voice the characters that we love, and I just think some of them have become incredibly well known, and I think it would be so interesting to talk to them and hear their perspective on what happens, you know, because they sound like these beloved characters and they are sort of embodying it in a way, and they're bringing that character to life. So I would love to talk to some voice actors. And also there are people who cosplay these actors, and even though they're not necessarily, I guess, directly part of the book process, they are still part of that world. And I find that really interesting too, because some people really nail it. And then also just the people behind the scenes who design like the covers, and other people in the publishing world that are maybe much more hidden. So, you know, the editors and how important they are and what kind of say they have over the trajectory of a character or a plot point, or because it's interesting to hear from. I don't want to spoil the mystery too much of the world because I love going in. That's why I sort of never felt like I wanted to work in the movies, because I love the ability to watch a film and be in that world. And so I'm cautious about finding out too much about the nuts and bolts of being like, yes, actually when a character comes in, we decimate them and we rebuild them and we just use like pop psychology and we remake it so that you guys get sucked in. Like, I don't want to hear that stuff. But I'm curious about, what does it look like in the day of an editor? Like, do you edit the same book for months so you're in that character voice, or do you have to jump between multiple authors? And how much of a say do you have? Like, if you feel very strongly that there's 3 characters arcs that are unnecessary, or like 2 whole chapters that are maybe a little bit indulgent to an author and you think are unnecessary and make the reader experience less pleasurable, like how much say do you, like those things I'm interested in. So I think there's a whole world of people who are in our book kind of world that I would love to interview and talk to. So that's kind of, I think, our plans. Reading retreat, book club, talking to people who are also as book obsessed in all of the ways and in parts of the thing, and then eventually merchandise that, you know, will smell great and feel great and will enhance your reading experience.
Yes. And personally, I'd love to hear your goals as well. But for me personally, it's just to continue reading, to continue enjoying it, to read. Now that I've kind of done a lot of the Sarah J. Maas, to read different authors and to branch out. Yeah, to kind of achieve just my personal reading goals this year, which is just to keep enjoying it and to keep reading a variety of authors as well. Then I can come back and talk on the podcast about. So what about you? Personal reading?
I feel like I have other life goals maybe, but for this I have no
just keep reading
goals. It feels very like pleasure driven and comfort driven. I want to talk about it because I find that really enjoyable. I want to read because I find that really pleasurable. I want to learn more about how the book world works because I find that really interesting, and I want to create beautiful things because that really appeals to my creative side. But I don't really ever think about goals specifically, or like how many books I want to read, or because I feel like I could get too obsessive over that stuff. It happens very quickly. If I was like, I want to read the most amount of books out of anyone on Goodreads this year, I would suddenly become like non-functional.
Yeah.
You'd be like, we have to record a podcast. And I'd be like, Carlie, sorry, I'm on to my 15th book today. So I can't pause to record because I have to get to 17 books because that's my quota to beat the person living in Norway who
you're doing that
like,
without the goal. You're already like, I read those 3 last week. I'm like, what? I was so happy that I'd finished one. You're like, yeah, I read the whole series. I feel like you're just doing that anyway. Maybe goal.
And I wasn't.
It's intention. It's intention.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Intention is to keep reading.
Intention.
Loving reading, to keep reading lots of different authors, to keep reading lots of different authors within this genre, to just keep up what I'm obsessed with and honor that and create time and space for that. That's probably a better way of putting it than I don't have it. Like I have a reading goal as in because I've set one on Goodreads just because that's what you do. You do a reading challenge. But I don't care if I don't achieve that. I just want to keep enjoying my reading. So love it. Okay. Well, that's a bit about us. If you want to know anything else, let us know. We are open books, literally, and we'll probably tell you just about anything you want to know. Jump into our book club. That's where you get a bit more of a like maybe seeing even the quirkier side and the weirder side and the internal workings of these brains, and we share a bit more in there. So we'd love to have you in the book club. The link is in all of our, spaces, Instagram, and I'll put in the show notes as well. I'll see you soon.
Good chats.
All right. Bye. Bye, Junie.
Ciao.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope that you felt like you were eavesdropping on a conversation that you have been dying to have with someone to discuss all the tiny details and possible plot twists of the books that you've recently read. Perhaps you don't have someone to chat to after you finish one of those epic books, so please give the show a follow and we would be honoured to be your book-obsessed friends. But mostly though, we hope it was fun, it gave you a giggle, it made you gasp or encouraged you to pick up a different author. Please share it with someone who you think would also love it and drop us a review, letting us know what you loved and what you want to hear from us in the future. We will be back with another episode soon. Happy reading.